Welcome to the Brandinc PR Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies of today's most impactful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals. Whether you're building your brand, scaling your business, or just looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. Hello again, and welcome back to the Brandinc PR Podcast. I am your host, Brandy Sims, and today I have with me a special guest, Ryan McCormick, who is the co-founder and media relations specialist at Goldman McCormick. Ryan, welcome. I'm so excited.
It is an honor to be with you, Brandy. I have to say, only knowing you for a shorter period of time, you exude patience and virtue and charisma. I appreciate you having me on your show. It's a great honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, hey, I'm happy to have you, and it's a great honor to have you be on this episode of the Brandinc PR Podcast to talk about all things your career, which is dun dun dun. I'm sorry, that's my like corny, of crisis, right? All things crisis, man, and it is a space. It is a niche. It's a specialty that it's not easy to work in this. And so I'm really excited to dive into just what your experience has been like, your career, but also, I want to hear all the tea because I think you've had the opportunity to talk about Paul Rubens on Vice TV. I think at one point when I was scrolling, I've got a snoop. I was looking and you had spoken about Prince Harry when all of the, royalty stuff happened and the royalty scandal. And so I'm like, oh yeah, Ryan's my guy for crisis. So I'm definitely going to pick his brain today.
Well, it's been quite the journey. And one of the first things I'd tell you that crisis PR, it is absolutely exhilarating. And it is so personally fulfilling because you get the opportunity to help someone or a company in a very tough spot and navigating and helping them, guide them through a tough situation. It's personally fulfilling. And you're able to make a sizable impact on the situation because most crises happen because of a lack of response or lack of communication or poor response, poor communication. One of the first things that usually happens in a crisis is an individual has they want to have an emotional release. And in the process of having an emotional release, they open themselves up to other ramifications they weren't expecting. So they have to be really particular and careful about the words that they choose. A lot of times they should be working with an attorney. So our firm has been around for 15 years. We just commemorated a 15-year anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
And we work with lawyers. Thank you. It's been a journey. And we work with lawyers for 15 years. So when you work with lawyers, you understand that there's certain situations where you can respond to the media. You can be very direct. But at the same time, you should always use it under an attorney, especially if you're going to a territory where there's defamation involved. So it's very important. I think it's a very big part of crisis PR. And also, Randy, you draw upon your own experiences. So all of us have gone through, some experiences in life that have been tough. I think that those refine and help you become better served people that are experiencing a crisis.
Mm-hmm. Well, I always say that I'm the calm in the storm. Or at least I try to be, on my side of things in PR, working entertainment, lifestyle, and sports. But for you, I feel like just with what you've said, just in this short time that we've gotten to get to know each other, even offline, I feel like you truly are, Ryan, the calm in the storm, because you are literally dealing with not just the storm, you're dealing with the tsunami, you're dealing with, the tornado, you're dealing with all the things, and you're maintaining such a level of professionalism and just calm in the crazy that I feel like is so admirable.
Thank you. And I appreciate your kind words. And I think that's what happens that over the years when you work in crisis, our agency has gone through situations that our clients have gone through. So when you've gone through a storm, when you've gone through a situation where your reputation is online, when you're being attacked, when you have all these things happening for you, one, it allows you to become very empathetic to others. And then you can kind of foresee situations happening in a little bit different direction. I have, I think, two things I would say that I call it my advantage. One, I grew up, I was half Italian. So every time the phone, when you grow up in a half Italian household, every time the phone rings, you expect bad news. So I think that requires mentally to anticipate bad news. And then,
Yeah.
some people are like, oh, you got to look at the bright side of life. Well, I tend to be very cynical and anticipate the worst. And in one way, the downside about it is that, okay, you see life a little differently. But the upside is that in crisis PR, it's fantastic because you anticipate things that other people would say, well, I would never fathom that was going to be happening. So being in a perpetual state of actually looking at the negative side of life or looking at the worst things that can happen is very valuable, especially when crisis PR. And then also at the same time, not only are you looking at negative situations, I don't like to become overwhelmed and say, well, all these horrible things that can happen. You hypothetically go in your mind and say, well, what are solutions to these problems? How can we navigate through a tough situation? And over the years, working with a lot of individuals and companies, you kind of get experience with that. And that's what we've done. We've had a lot of experience with that. And we've had some very fulfilling campaigns that we've worked on. And, they've touched us, they've helped us to grow. And in turn, we build upon those. We're able to serve people even better.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, you had so much experience working with high profile clients across all industries. What initially drew you to just media relations and reputation management? Was it
Well,
those phone calls as a child, as an Italian child?
Oh, Italian, yeah. Okay. So when I was growing up, I wanted to make films and be in movies and do lots. My uncle was an actor. He's been in a bunch of films. His name is Leo Rossi. So
Nice.
I wanted to always be in films, make films. So I went to college. I didn't get in the film program, and I still made a film anyway. Got it on campus, got it shown by a bunch of people. And at one point, I realized that I was having a lot more fun publicizing film than I ever was making film. And something clicked off in there. And I was like, I really enjoy publicity. And I was pretty good at it too. I just had a way of getting people excited. So I graduated and worked for CBS News for a little while and interned for Howard Stern for a little while. And I kept meeting those individuals. And I saw PR as it was just a very exciting industry because you were able to write, produce, you were able to create content and also get people excited about things you were excited about. And there's a lot of value in that too, because when you can not only promote businesses, but you can also use those same skills to promote nonprofits and promote other things you really care about. So that's really kind of drew me to it. It was also a challenge. And then I don't know about you and your experience, but I've come to find that the more I've been in PR, the more there's a lot of elements of life coaching to it. There's a lot of elements of psychology. You really do have to I think in order to serve your clients, you have to care deeply about them. You have to care deeply about people. You have to listen to them and making sure that you guide them through your goals. And I think the industry is kind of changing and evolving, but that's what really drew me to it. It's something that I just had an interest for. And when I met my PR partner, my co-founder, Mark Goldman, we brought out the best in each other. We constantly challenged each other. So it was kind of like we were both influencing off each other. And then we also had a series of PR mentors that we work with, those that would always challenge us. And to this day, 15 years in the industry, there are still people in PR that I look up to and that I always look at. So when I was going through your side, I was looking at what you're doing. I see some wonderful things that you were doing. I'm like, well, maybe I should try incorporating that. That's really good. So I think being in a perpetual state of learning is something that has helped our company evolve.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Because I was just going to ask you, just what has your approach been in terms of PR for the business and how has it evolved over time? Because I mean, and really, not only that, but also just what inspired you to say, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna co-found Goldman McCormick. We're gonna do this. We're gonna make it happen. Like, what was that point that you said, like, this, I'm gonna get into entrepreneurship and just go my own way? And well, with my partner, but
Sure.
we're gonna go our own way and just see what we can build and what we can grow and how we can support, this particular set of clientele's needs with PR and in communications.
So what the real point that happened was we were working together, collaborating together, and we realized that we wanted to serve clients differently. And one of the first things we did is we always said, we want to be that agency where if somebody calls and needs us, we're going to pick up. We're going to get back to you right away. So when people call, and some people, I guess, they reach out to other agencies, they send an email, they have someone get back. We get on the phone right away. And we want our clients to know that they're always there for them and that we want to provide service all around. And then we thought about, well, if we're going to do PR, we want to obviously get our clients on TV and radio and newspapers. But at the same time, like, what else can we do for them? What other ways can we serve?
Mm.
So the basis for what we founded our company on was, okay, well, let's be there for our clients all the time. And also let's come up with ways every single day on how to serve them. What can we do every single day to show our clients that we appreciate them and provide value? So I think that's the mentality that we have. And that's what has served us very well. We also wanted to form a company where they always say it sometimes in PR, like, oh, it's a big, it's a cutthroat industry and you have to, fight against other publicists. I don't have any jealousy of other publicists. I don't see
Yeah.
other PR firms as competition in any capacity. I look at other firms as, well, let's see if we can collaborate together. And there are, I think, 5 or 6 other agencies that we're very friendly with. So if a request comes in that we can't serve, we have no problem giving it to the other agency because we just like to have really good relationships with people. We think that it's very good to collaborate. So that was another fundamental philosophy that was different about us. And then it was just, faster response time. I have to say that my partner, my PR partner and I, Mark, and then members of our other company, we're always on call. So we just like to be very responsive. And that's what really founded it, is that we saw a vision for PR that we wanted to initiate that was going to be different. And we brought it to fulfillment.
Oh, wow. Yes, yes. So it sounds to me like you identify the problem
Mhm.
that the client had and you created and really put forth the initiative to create the solution for them. Yeah, I love all of that. And especially in terms of agency, you hear horror stories all the time of, yeah, I was working with this agency, but I was just kind of a number and I had to go to this person, to this person, to this person, eventually get help. And so to hear that you made it a point right out the gate of starting Goldman McCormick, that we're going to be responsive. We're going to
Mhm.
be that agency where people feel like you call me, like we're going to answer and we're going to help you.
Absolutely.
Right. Like that's something that it really speaks to the values of your organization, but also to your leadership that you would incorporate something like that, because that is a real issue that we hear often about the big guys, the big guns, the established, PR agencies have been out around 100 plus years, that you're just kind of a number because you are small and they just have many, many people that they're dealing with. So that means a lot.
Thank you.
Hey, hey, business rock stars. Got big PR plans for 2025? Then you need the 2025 PR Plan and Workbook. It's your step by step guide to owning the media spotlight, building buzz, and making big moves this year. And guess what? Early bird pricing is live right now, but it won't last long. So why pay more later when you can snag it now and save those extra coins for coffee runs during media pitch marathons? I don't know. Go grab it today because once it's gone, well, you'll be wishing you hit that buy button sooner. Let's make 2025 your breakout year. Early bird pricing ends soon. Visit brandingpr.com/resources. So you've been featured on major networks like ABC, Fox News, and CBS, and then as well as your background experience working with some of these places, right? What have been, and I'm smiling because I absolutely love talking media and interviews. Like I get a kick out of all of these things. It makes sense why I chose the career path I did in PR. But what have been some of your most memorable media appearances and how did they help to shape your expertise in crisis comms?
Thank you. Really well thought out. Excellent question, Brandy.
Thank you.
One of the ones I really enjoyed doing was Vice TV. So I got a chance to go to
Okay.
Vice and get there really early and then record for a number of hours.
Yeah.
And they really did want me to go into depth about Paul Rubens and Tiger Woods. And going and being interviewed on that, it really made me consider how deep these crises were and how well they played it off. Paul Rubens was so brilliant when his whole career came to a standstill and people thought he was done, and he turned things around.
Yep.
So it's when you kind of study some of these cases, became completely in awe about how people were able to turn things around. So it was an honor to be on Vice. It was an honor to do any media. And it's an honor to be on your show. It's wonderful that when you're able to talk about it, you realize how significant crisis communications is and the incredible skill set it takes, not only just for the firm, but for the individual to kind of turn their life around and to shift public perception. And of all those interviews that I've done, I think one of the things that has always stood by is that when you're honest and allow yourself to be vulnerable, and then you're transparent and you show that you're not hiding it. It just has a different effect
Yeah.
And being straightforward and being kind and considerate is another thing that goes a very long way. But those interviews they've been exciting. They've been really a wonderful opportunity. And again, we have a wonderful team at our company. So all these accomplishments that have happened, they're a result of everyone putting their time, and it's an honor to happen to be the individual that's talking about it. But I'd say that Vice was very exciting. Being on radio was exciting. I love doing radio. The industry is a very big part in our hearts. But all interviews have been, I'd say, equally important and very. I cherish all of them.
Yes, yes. Well, hey, I'll be the first one to say that Vice TV is one of
Mhm.
my favorite networks to tune into because I feel like they understand the media game, right? But they engage people in a real authentic way by bringing in stories that are very
Mhm.
compelling, very interesting, like the Pee Wee Herman story. I think they did one on Von Dutch a little
Yeah,
while ago, and the Abercrombie and Fitch. They did and those are really good stories to tell because it's moments in history that we really don't talk about, but that were impactful. And it was a huge,
yeah,
significant moment in popular culture, but we don't know the behind the scenes, right? Because they're
no,
not doing the interviews and having the conversation around these things that happen. It's just like it happened and then off we go. So I like that Vice TV makes it a point to go after those real nostalgic moments is what getting at is getting those real moments and actually peeling back the layers, taking the curtain and pulling back the curtain. And like, this is what really happened
Mhm.
and how it impacted. Like, I love stuff like this. I think we talked about this
It's
offline
great.
about just the love for psychology and just, you know, it impacting PR and comms because you're so right in many ways that it's something that you have to care about people to be successful in this. Like you have
Yes.
to have a genuine care, but you also have to have a genuine interest in people is what I picked up from this conversation, but also just in getting to know you better. It's like it's so true though. You do have to really be interested in people. So yeah, I love Vice TV and I love that they bring on stories like this that are actually very interesting and help to kind of give you insight and perspective and then having you on to provide that expert knowledge on the impact of the crisis calm side of things that people really didn't I don't think they really see that. Do you feel like that in these
There's a lot
situations?
going on behind the scenes. There's so much going on behind the scenes,
So
and
much.
yeah, I think it's really good to okay when you see a crisis or even a successful PR campaign when it plays out to
Mhm.
understand the fundamentals of how things happen. Because I think once you understand that, then you can replicate the same result and to learn about it. And one of those individuals who we put PR aside. I'm also very much into personal development and self actualization, growing. And I think that when you do that, you continue to open new doors, you continue to progress. So by learning about how things have come to fruition, it's wonderful because you can replicate those efforts. You can also learn to ensure you don't make similar mistakes. And one of the mistakes that I always talk to executives about is I always say, listen, maybe it's not a good idea to go on social media and tout your political views. You may have some strong political views, and like that's fantastic, but don't
Mhm.
put them on social media because sometimes those could really, you could get a negative reaction from people that don't share those political views. So for the life of me, I don't understand why it happens. I'm just like, if you have an exceptional product or exceptional service, let your product and service appeal to all the people and reach its maximum, value. So it's a little unusual that things happen, but the industry, I think it's continuing to change, and we're always good to look to see how some of these biggest success stories happen.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, kind of switching gears
Mm,
again, I really want to
anytime.
talk with you about the crisis comms
Mm,
aspect of your role and also
sure.
reputation management. So, in today's digital world, a reputation crisis can spread like wildfire. I feel like you just gave an example of what's going on today, where we have business owners that are experiencing, not even just business owners, but also organizations that are experiencing backlash for
Yes.
comments that they've made on social media or things that they've done. And it's almost equivalent to me like a hornet's nest, like you just shook it up and
Right.
now everybody is pissed. So,
Yeah.
what's the first thing a business or an individual should do when facing a PR crisis? What's the first thing that you would say that they need to do?
Okay. Well, you have to assess the crisis. I would say beforehand, before you ever experience a crisis, one of the best things you can do is to have a crisis PR plan in place. Have one ready, because when it happens, you need to have a protocol. And the protocol should include, who do we respond to? Make sure we have our lawyer ready to go. Because if it involves anything legal, defamation, that's something you need to address immediately. You have to understand, and again, having that crisis plan, knowing who's going to be your focal point, who's going to be your spokesperson. Once the actual crisis happens, then you want to look right away to see how quickly the news is spreading and if it's being shared on social media. And if you see that it's being shared and growth happens over the course of a couple of days, then you should be really concerned. Usually when something happens and there's outrage, I personally find that anger builds up, and it kind of, the anger, the energy from the anger happens within the first 48 hours. But if it's long term, you'll see that anger percolate. You'll see more people sharing information. There'll be calls for that person to resign. It'll just get worse, and then all of a sudden you start getting review bombed on Google Media, and they'll start writing negative reviews about your company. It's one of the worst things that can happen. So you find yourself in the situation. The first thing you need to do is take action immediately, and have your crisis PR team on board. You want to assess where things are, assess if you need a lawyer, and then assess right away what kind of statement you should put out. And again, the most important thing, and to come back what I said at the beginning, is don't give that emotional response. Yes, you could be feeling hurt and horrible, and all these bad things are happening. But you have to be very particular about the words you choose. I would choose to use less words, because if you put out more information, you give the opposition, you kind of give it fuel for the fire to continue to burn. And you have to be really particularly careful about how it comes out. Working with, I'd say that depending on how bad the case is, if you need a lawyer, then you need to make sure that all the statements are approved by your attorney and see how things progress. But you should have a response right away. One thing I've talked a lot about, Brandy, is the airline industry and how they need to be more communicated with people, especially when there's a crash. I've suggested for I don't know how many years that the airline industry needs to come together, and they need to always address situations together as one industry, because it's bad when something happens to one airline and then something else happens to another one, and it's back and forth. They're kind of disorganized, and they're all hurting. So it doesn't make any sense. If your house is fine and your neighbor's house is on fire, it brings the whole value of the neighborhood down. So industries like that need to kind of collaborate together and have kind of a joint response. So in situations, coming back to how we deal with initial crisis, you want to give a response that is truthful and a response that can be approved by your attorney, to ensure that you're not saying anything which could put you in a legal implication later. And be straightforward, be forthcoming. If you are found of doing wrongdoing, if you've done something that's very negative, one of the best things you can do is to make a pledge and commitment to changing the behavior, saying, listen, from this day forward, we're going to implement this new plan to ensure that nothing like this ever happens again. You apologize, and if needed, and hope for the best. And sometimes situations like this will resolve, especially if you take decisive action at the beginning. One of the worst things you can do is, if a crisis builds up, Brandy, and you don't do anything in the beginning, then it just, all the speculation just builds. And that's what makes it really worse.
Okay. So first things first, we need to assess the crisis before we do anything. Assess, don't respond. I like that. I think that's a really impactful too. Especially given kind of the digital world we live in today. So we know social media has really changed the game for crisis management. How can brands be proactive in protecting their reputation before the crisis even happens?
Well, the first thing they should do is brands, I don't think they should stay away from all things political. And if they have a view, that they have a view on a social issue, political issue, don't share it. That's the first thing you can do. That'll literally save so much time, effort, energy. Be involved outside of your own time. That's great. But someone's saying you can't be involved in supporting a candidate or supporting a great issue that's important to you. But don't put that on the company account. Be very aware of how people are talking about you. I personally think it's a great idea to engage directly with your customers on social media If they're asking a question, respond. Let them know that you care. Let them
Yes.
know that you're listening. Sometimes a lot of these things happen, Brandy. I think it's because people don't feel like they're being heard. They don't feel like they're being heard. They don't feel like they're being listened to. So they'll shout louder, louder, louder until they're
Mm.
finally heard. And sometimes that's what happens. That's how crisis happens, because somebody has put out information completely false because they needed to get attention. They needed to be heard. So I would say for every company out there that's listening, yes, it's good to have some positive-minded individuals, but it's good to also have two people on your company that are completely paranoid, that assume the worst 100% of the time, because those are the people who, when a crisis happens, they're going to come up with 5 or 6 different things and you're going to be able to respond to it right away. I think it's just good to have a negative mindset some of the time, or at least all the time, to a degree, to
Yeah.
anticipate things that are happening. And it's not about being negative. It's about, okay, well, you're just anticipating, you're just preparing. The same way you prepare for a meeting, the same way you prepare for an athletic event. You're anticipating everything that can happen, and you're having a mindset for it, because when it does happen, you will remain calm and you'll be of a kind of a Zen mindset, knowing that you've already prepared a situation like this in your mind.
Okay, no, that makes so much sense. And it honestly sounds like the age-old dinner table talk. We don't
Mm.
talk politics, we don't talk religion. Just have your dinner, right? That's
Right,
what
have your
this is
dinner.
giving. So yeah, I mean, and that may be the approach, because I mean, if you look at it today, right? Even in the
Mm.
news, you've got so many companies being boycotted because of
Yeah,
political views and those that were shared on the platform. So it kind of, to your point, if this had not been shared at all, what would things look like right now? We might not have as many boycotts that are going on with these organizations and these brands. So I think you're onto something with that, in that
thank you.
there's some areas, man, just don't touch it. It's
No,
okay to have your own personal views, but there's some areas where, okay, we need to be mindful. Does this even align with our brand? Is this something that is a part of our values? And things like that. Really assess it, which goes back to your earlier point, being able to assess, okay, what is the damage here? What does this look like? And how can we move forward? But being proactive is taking yourself out of a deeply polarizing issue from the beginning, could actually be helpful in that
no,
sense. I really like that. Yes.
thank you.
So, what do you think? Well, actually, no, before I ask this one, because I have a lot
Yeah,
of questions for you, Ryan. I was
and I'm
very,
open.
very well prepared to
Thank
talk
you.
to you today. So, can you give me an example of a particularly challenging crisis that you helped manage, and what were some of the key lessons that business owners can really learn from it?
Yes, one of our
One of
there's
the
an
most
HBO.
challenging crises, and I'm
Sure,
sure.
one of the most challenging crises. Oh,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a there's a number of challenging crises, and
See,
some of
and
the
I
ones that
figured,
yeah,
like,
there's a
what
lot of.
challenging crisis? Everything is a
Sure. Well, I'll say that true. I think really true success in crisis communications are the ones you don't hear about, the ones that have faded away, because
challenge.
the ones that have kind of come to public light.
Yeah,
We can look and say, well, that came to light, and how did you deal with the situation? There have been a lot of situations we've engaged
yeah,
where things have never come to light because we're able to make a resolution and
yeah,
deal internally with the crisis.
yeah.
But one particular case always stands out in our mind was HBO did a 2-part documentary series called Who Killed Garrett Phillips? And it was about a father of 5, Nick Hillary, who was wrongly accused of murder. And I think it was upstate New York, they had no evidence that he committed this murder. And he came to us with his attorneys that we knew. And they're saying, look, the entire town thinks this gentleman did it. The entire, and they think he did it. There's no evidence, but they think he did it. Can you help? And we did. We got his story out. We built a website that showed a lot of it's like wrongful story statements by the people that are trying to put
Yes.
him in prison, and it built momentum. And his story was getting out. And
Mm,
then all of a sudden, public perception started to change. And one thing that really happened was we got him on the cover of the New York Times. It was a 5-page story from Nick Hillary that really brought to light about what was going on. There was definitely momentum shift. A couple other attorneys came on, and on Nick Hillary's third trial, he was exonerated, and it was just amazing. And within about 20 minutes of him being exonerated, he thanked our PR firm. It was one of the most fulfilling campaigns we've ever worked on,
mm,
because he came to us and we were able to work and collaborate. Now, an innocent man is back with his family, and we won a gold award for that for Bulldog Reporter. So that was one of the most fulfilling and challenging campaigns because there was a lot at stake there. We literally had a bunch of people that really did want to see this gentleman in prison, and we were able to shift public perception because we got the truth out. We got the right people out. We had all the correct information out, and then he won the court battle. Then he won the battle of public perception, which is beautiful. And then another one of our favorite campaigns we ever worked on, Brandy, was Simon the dog. Simon, this is so true to our heart. Simon was in his own yard and he bit some kid's leg because some kid was swinging a stick at him. Mm-hmm. They put Simon on death row. And so we are very passionate when it comes to animal rights, animal advocacy. We love animals. We'll do anything we can for animal advocacy work. And Simon's dad was like, we have to make sure Simon gets off death row, and we'll do whatever we can. So we came up with a lot of ideas, campaigns. There were billboards on major highways and town meetings, and we put all these stories out. And Simon was off death row, and it was awesome. He was Simon was able to run around once more. So all these things, happen. They're again. I probably mentioned this word a number of times, but they're very fulfilling. They're very fulfilling because I think people innately love to help others, and then when you can make a difference in someone's life, it's exciting. It's really, really awesome. So we love what we do for our clients. We love providing great service for them. But in the crisis communications it's always a big difference. It's always very personal because we know that we're making a huge difference in the trajectory of their lives.
Wow, I that is incredible. I mean, goodness. Now I'm just gonna be thinking like Simon the dog. He's here.
Simon, yeah. Oh my God.
It's because Ryan and his incredible team.
We were obsessed about him. Oh my God.
Yeah, that is so dope. Really, seriously. I just, that's incredible. But just hearing you talk about these challenging situations and how you, again, just created a solution to the problem that your clients were reaching out to you for, and you were able to do this successfully. I mean, it's amazing. But it certainly with not only Simon the dog, but also just someone dealing with their reputation being potentially tarnished and being able to turn that from a very, very highly, I would say almost polarizing and negative into a positive that probably saved this person's life. Like that is impact.
It's
that's
very
deep.
Thank you. We love that particular campaign, and then some people say, well, PR is all spin, and you're shifting. You're getting the truth out. You're presenting the truth in a way that people can easily understand it. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the apology, I have to say that I've been married for 15 years. Yeah. So I understand the art of the apology. I know when to apologize. And that I have to say that kind of pays off because I know all the variations of an apology to give. So.
Yes. No, exactly. Well, okay. So what are some of the biggest mistakes companies make when handling a PR crisis, and how can they avoid them in your perspective?
Sure.
The biggest mistakes that you see.
Great question, Brandy. Probably the first one is that they underestimate what's going to happen. They just assume that's not going to, they don't take it very seriously, and they don't realize how upset people can get. And they don't understand how people can respond, especially those that maybe have too much free time on their hands, that certain people will devote all their time to taking down a particular company. Mm-hmm. And in crisis PR, there's this one thing that's unique. It's something unique that we didn't have 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yes, this is a 24/7 news cycle, but people are perpetually distracted, more so today than they've ever been. Mm-hmm. So when your crisis is occurring, one of the best things you can hope for is that, okay, well, hopefully there's going to be a national news story that's going to happen. If your crisis breaks on Monday and it's a slow news week, guess what? You are the center of the news story. Mm. And sometimes a company will underestimate what will happen, and they might be the center of the news story. And then all this negative press occurs over such a prolonged period of time, and then it damages them. And the best thing that can happen is that when you're in a situation of crisis, you want to resolve that as soon as possible, because you don't want people talking about it. You don't want digital footprints of all this crisis happening, which is why I just doing a little sidetrack is that I don't understand why that Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni situation is happening for as long as it is. Yes. I commented on that. It is it's destructive for both of them. that to have this play out. Like, why don't you just go behind the scenes, settle this in some way because you're hurting yourself. So, I mean, maybe they don't. Maybe it could be ego. Maybe a company could have a big ego. So listen, we're who we are. It doesn't matter. Sometimes a company may have a crisis in the U.S., but if they're a global company and the bottom line is not going to be impacted by overseas, maybe they don't feel the need to do it. Some companies don't really feel the need to address a situation. But I would say take everything very seriously. Take everything seriously. Listen to your customers. Another mistake that some companies make is you have contradicting information. You have multiple people within the company giving multiple statements, and that stages confusion. So people don't really know what the truth is. So that confusion, it's not good because one person can say one thing, one person can say another, and it's good to have a consistent statement from the very beginning to the very end. Other times is being antagonistic towards the media. Don't ever antagonize the media. It's like, show them respect, because even if they're writing a story about you and it's not favorable, be cordial with them because they are the gatekeepers to millions of people. So don't be disrespectful to them. Don't, yes, you're upset that they're writing a negative story, but at least be cordial with them every step of the way, because that person that writes a negative story about you today could be writing a wonderful story about you tomorrow, especially if something comes to fruition and it's been you're exonerated. So don't antagonize the media. Be cordial. Be very nice. Do everything you can to be polite at every step of the way, I'd say. And don't be antagonistic, because being antagonistic, denying the story is even happening, and having multiple people give multiple accounts of what's happening, those are all recipes for disaster.
Oh, 100%. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because I was going to bring it up. The Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni situation. My goodness. Right. Have you seen something like this in the past that has prolonged the way this thing has gone? Have you ever seen a case like this just continue on the way it has been?
Not recent memory. I mean, not recent memory. And the fact is that I guess that they're not going to really start this until March of 2026. That's when they're finally going to do it. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, was it Johnny Depp, Amber? I forget her name. Amber Heard, the situation. They remind me of that because every day they were always in court and the headlines are coming out, just like that. But this is a situation where it's just bad PR for both of them. I think that both of their stocks and the value of the company's eyes are like studios' eyes are going to go down, because do you want to take a chance on that particular actor or actress knowing that this has happened? Is it worth the investment? So something like this could hurt you a long time. I mean, my uncle is an actor. He's worked in Hollywood for a long period of time. And you stand on the radar, you show up, and you're professional, and you do really good. It continues to, people want to work with you. Yeah. But in a situation like this, even if either one of those parties are 100% right or 100% wrong, in the end, I think they're both coming away from this thing tarnished. They're both going to be coming away. People will perceive them differently, and there'll always be someone else to take their spot. So if Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, people know who they are today. Tomorrow there'll be another celebrity that'll come take their place, and that'll do a great film and make the studio a lot of money. That won't give the same kind of problems that these two are having, I guess.
100%. Oh, yes. Well, the situation itself, it has really just perplexed me because of how far it's gone.
Yeah.
But it's just really just a he said, she said, and more things are coming out and more of this. And I almost look at it like, and I've even asked myself this question, and I'm going to ask you just because you're the expert within this space. But if you were to be approached, either side, to take one of them on, to take their crisis on, would you? And what's the first thing that you would do? And I've asked myself this, and I'm just like, well, every which angle that I would have approached it, I mean, you guys have just scorched it. But then again, I'm not the expert. So what would you do in this instance? And this is either or in handling this crisis at the point that it is today.
Okay. Well, I would say one is that I respectfully disagree with one thing you said, that you're not the expert. I have to say, I've seen your track record. You have glaring tech clients that like adore you, and you've had a tremendous success in PR. So I appreciate you saying that I'm the expert. I love what I do, but you've also accomplished a lot, and you deserve a pat on the back for all the things you've accomplished. So I just happen to be in the crisis PR for years, And I think that Crisis PR has got its own thing, but very successful as well. Now, if Aldoni or like Lively approached me, I would take it on in a heartbeat. You would just be so excited. Wow, what a challenge. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Then I'd say, we need to sit down. We need to get this out of the paper. You need to come up with a resolution ASAP, because I would bring a big board in and have some accountants say, this is how much money you could be making, or you could have been making without this crisis. This is how much money you're not going to be making. This is how much money the situation has cost the studios. I would be straightforward with them and say, look, is it really worth it? Is it really worth fighting this thing out? And if they continue to want to fight it out, I would do whatever I could to make sure that my client's side of the story was out. If they were blatantly lying or they were putting misinformation out, it's something I wouldn't do. And actually, that's something I want to touch upon, is that
Yes, please
in
do.
crisis PR, any kind of PR, your reputation is always on the line. So yeah, it's great to have a wonderful client who's high profile, but if they are putting misinformation out, or they are comfortable lying, and it doesn't align to your, it's not good. It's not a good reflection on you. You should only work with people that align to your values. So I think like Lively or Just Minute, they hired, I would tell them, you have to resolve this right away, because this is damaging both of your reputations, and there's a way back. You can come to a resolution. I think that 5 years from now, they're going to look on this and they'll both probably regret that it came this far.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope so. I'm just kind of ready for this saga to be over and to get back into, what we do best. And let's analyze the situation. How did it start? Middle, end. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing just a recap of, okay, here's all the things we could have done better. Here's what kind of helped. Here's what didn't help. And just, I don't know. It's like the analytical side of me is like, I can't wait for this to be over and concluded, just so that we can just really look back at this as a real case study of what to do and what not to do in a crisis calm situation dealing with celebrities that are heavy hitters in their own right, have their own successful careers, but, have now entangled even, I think, the PR pros that were
Yep.
involved. They're on the lawsuit now. And I'm like, this
Oh
is
yeah.
insane. I would have
Never seen
never
that before.
thought it would get this far, but now the PRs are getting sued. Like, this is
Yeah.
craziness. And it just
Yeah.
keeps escalating. So
Yeah.
yeah, it just is insane. And I'm definitely ready to see the saga end. Because yeah, I know it's always been fun kind of looking at my phone and seeing, okay, well, what's happening now in the Justin and Blake crisis here, but I'm definitely ready for it to be over, just so that we can really look at it and analyze it in depth, all of the missteps and things that happened to make it kind of as big as it is, and eventually was, crossing fingers, that the crisis was, in that instance.
I've got a secret confession. I want it to go on a little longer, because I think that this crisis between these two has been
Yeah.
very good for the economy. A lot of people have been hired. Attorneys have been hired. A lot of people are in the news
True.
are talking about this. It's been good for ratings. So I think this is the way this is good for the economy, and it's good for other people in PR, because how many people in crisis PR are not able to talk? The story's going on for so long. It's
Yep.
given other people a great opportunity to share their views. So
Well, you're so right on that.
I'd
I
like
mean,
to see go for a
it's just a
little
new
longer.
element.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to see go on a little longer, then conclude. I agree, and move on to something else.
Yes. No, it's a new element every single day. So I didn't really think about that, but you're so right. It does help to boost the economy in that aspect. Absolutely. And the ratings. So we'll give it that. Okay. So kind of jumping into more media relations, since we're kind of already on this, you've created dynamic PR campaigns for a wide range of clients. What makes a PR campaign truly successful in today's very fast paced and very changing media landscape?
Believe a successful PR campaign captivates the imagination.
Mm.
It has to captivate your imagination, your client's imagination, but those millions of people. And it's really great to do something innovative and to present information that's never been done before, to teach something that's never been done before. I always think that when you present a campaign and your client is providing a tremendous amount of value, and they are providing information that improves the lives of another, and they can look at that campaign, walk away from something, and take practical steps to improve their lives, or feel better about themselves, it's a winning combination. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of campaigns that are out there, constant competition for people's eyeballs. and attention. So I'd say make something that is innovative, do something that's never been done before, present a piece of information that's never been done before. One thing I love about the clients that we're working with is that they're constantly generating interesting content, and they're very into exploring ideas and how to maximize their exposure by doing campaigns that will raise awareness, but just be really creative. So if you can get really creative and again provide something that brings people a tremendous amount of value, you're in a very strong position to have a successful campaign.
I like that. I like that a lot. So, how do you think that professionals can really position themselves as thought leaders to get that media attention and that credibility? Is it through kind of that position in the storytelling? Do you feel like it's bringing something new to the table?
Yeah, it's bringing something completely new, being really creative, and it's also too. I mean, we do a media engagement. It's always good to present facts that will back up what you're doing. I'm working with an individual right now who is I've got a couple that are really passionate about health. So when we present them, we say, by the way, okay, these are the current stats about how negative things are with health, and by the way, your client's there with a solution. And, it's that if you can identify a problem that present your solution, it's very helpful. And also when you say, applying, how do you become a thought leader? I'd say, constantly learn and grow. And I want to share something with you, Brandy, real quick, is that my PR mentor is Michael Levine. He is a 58, he represented 58 Academy Award winners. He's a legendary entertainment publicist. I think this man is so brilliant. And over 20 years ago, he was like, he took my phone call, and he was my mentor. And he always taught me great things about PR, and he's the person whose drive and ambition that I always wanted to become. So I said that for people that are thinking about, well, how to become a thought leader, I'm like, well, one, think for yourself, and two, find people in PR that you respect and connect with them. I've had the honor of working with a lot of people in PR that I have the utmost respect for. Some of them have become dear friends. I've also had the honor of working with various authors. I became the publicist of my favorite author, Stuart Wilde. I would say, become a thought leader by thinking for yourself and by working with people that you admire, and constantly be open to change and open to growth.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I think that's some advice that is applicable for really anyone in any industry that they can use and really be able to grow within the space that they're interested in is finding that like mind, finding that mentor that can really pour into you the way that you need to really grow. Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. So looking into the future of PR. Okay. So with AI and digital media reshaping the industry, how do you see the role of media relations evolving in the next 5 years?
Okay. I see the role of media relations with the advent of AI as PR professionals are going to one, they're going to have to adapt to the technology, and two, they're going to have to think more and more like writers and producers. There are people in PR who've never set foot in a newsroom. I've set foot in a newsroom. I've also produced a number of different podcasts.
Yeah.
So I think the key about it is that, you understand that AI is going to be a terrific tool, but understand that like anything can replace human interaction, especially when it comes to crisis PR. I don't think there's going to be an AI that's going to give you the right information on how to handle a situation. You're always going to need some kind of human touch and human interaction. I would also say that I do worry that the over-reliance on AI is going to stifle and maybe diminish the art of writing and creative thinking. People are going to become too reliant upon AI, and AI is pretty cool, but you think you need original thought and the ability to write, because there's going to be situations where AI does not fulfill human interaction and personal intimacy when it comes to connecting with an audience or engaging with the media or a number of different things. So I'd say I'm a little wary about AI's rapid interaction. I know it's going to change everything, but just be aware that, keep your human skills refined. Like, I'll give an example. The thing we lost many, many years ago, for generations, the people had the ability, knew how to farm, and they knew how to grow their own food. And, grocery stores came around and people just lost that skills. Now, if a crisis happens and the grocery store shut down, what can people do? So I'll draw on that parable and say, one, always good to learn to grow your own food. And two, keep your skills sharp. Keep your skills sharp, and don't become over reliant upon AI.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Thank
The
you.
human refinement. Yeah, I might
Yes,
steal that, Brian.
you go right ahead.
I
Go
already
right ahead,
told you.
Brandon.
That's a really good one. No, but you're so right that human refinement is necessary and super, super important because we don't know what it's going to look like. But you need to at least have the skill set that you can do all these things without the use of these tools. Like it doesn't make or break what you already have that you've fostered, you've nurtured, and you've grown on your own. You're so right. And very good analogy there.
Thank you. And I can't emphasize enough too. Self-actualization, self-growth is, I think, it's very important. I think for our industry and also for crisis PR,
Yes.
because you have to be being in a state of understanding how people think, how they respond. One allows you to connect with them more, and also body language is super important. There are all these different things about. I highly recommend if people are listening, read Robert Greene's books, The 48 Laws of Power, The Laws of Human Nature. Just I'd say be very open and constantly learning and growing. And the more you learn to grow about and understand how people think, it's very important. And psychology books, I think, have been absolutely crucial in our ability to connect and to understand our clients, understand certain situations. Because, they say, I know people are very unique. Everyone's got their own unique personalities, but human nature, I don't think it really changes. It's very predictable in a lot of ways. So understanding that the predictable nature of how humans respond, I think it'll give you a little bit of a competitive edge to anticipate crisis.
Well, I like that. I like that a lot. So
He,
Robert Greene's 48 Laws
he
of
is
Power. I actually
amazing.
have a copy of it.
Yeah,
And I
he's
have
one
The
of our
Art of War, but that was a different time, Ryan. My mind was in a different I was ready to go to war, Ryan, is all I'm saying.
Well, I would be afraid to go to war with you because you're sharp. You're sharp,
Well,
and you
thank
can
you.
tell, in-depth thinker.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It was a time, Ryan. It was a time when I was reading on that one. But you were spot on with the 48 Laws of Power. It's a good read, but it's something that puts it into perspective, the psychology behind people. And you just made such a good point in really recognizing a lot of this is predictable. But you have to be willing to sit down and actually learn it and why it's predictable, not just assuming or just placing the label, but you can see the patterns and all of this if you would just take the time to really learn people. Like it's not as
Yes,
complex as it's complex, but it's not that complex if you really sit down and take the time to really learn people. I think
yes,
that's the
yeah.
biggest thing that, people can take away, whether you're in PR and comms or just in business in general, is really learning people
Right.
and
And
making
people
that
that
connection.
also, sorry, and people that also don't think the way you do. So one of my podcasts
Yes.
I've been doing for 11 years. We've done 450 episodes. Pleasure, and I've interviewed all types of people.
Yeah.
And when you can talk to individuals who share different, let's say, political or social viewpoints than you do, and entertain these ideas, I think it's different. It's able to. It's really, I think it's good to converse with people from all different backgrounds and understand where they're coming from, because it's very helpful. I think in PR, it's helpful in life in general, but especially when it comes to crisis PR, because then you can understand why a person would come to that conclusion, and it helps you become more empathetic. In fact,
Yes.
Robert Greene is terrific, and there's another book by Malcolm Gladwell called Blink is another terrific book read. It really talks about this principle that once you understand how a person thinks, you can kind of decipher in a very short period of time what their next step is. It's a very good psychology book.
Okay, I like it. Yes,
Mm,
drop all of the references. I love
sure.
this because I'm definitely a reader. Got my little bookcase
Awesome.
here, but I think my listeners are too. These are some really good copies to check out. So thank you for sharing that for real.
My pleasure. My
Yes,
pleasure.
yes. Okay. So what's one piece of advice that you give businesses or individuals that are looking to build and maintain a strong public image? What's the best and what is the one piece of advice that you would give them?
Stay honest. Stay
Mm,
honest. Be truthful.
yeah.
So the second you start lying to yourself, you start lying to other people, it's just bad. It just you be if the truth is bad, find a way to address that. Always be straightforward and truthful. I think Mark Twain said this wonderful quote saying one of the best things about telling the truth is you don't have to have a good memory. I love
Mm,
that. I've always stuck with me. So be tell the truth, And if you're in a situation where a crisis is emerging, make sure you have an excellent crisis PR team with you. Happen to know one, and make sure you have a great legal team around you, and then
Yes.
address it immediately. Because once you address something and you get past that, you'll learn from the experience. It'll make you really strong. I mean, having gone through situations that our clients have gone through has made us so much stronger.
Yeah.
And I would say that something else, Brandy, is that whether you're in crisis PR or you're just another form of PR, negative things happen to us all the time. Life is not this, sometimes it can be wonderful, but sometimes it can be really hard. When you have those negative experiences and you're able to transcend those experiences and learn from those experiences, I think they make you stronger and a better position to become more empathetic and better serving your clients because you've gone through something. You've been able to transcend something, and now they may not have gone through what you've gone through. So I think all life experiences are completely relevant. So I'd say, explore, learn, continue to broaden your horizons, and knowing that everything that you do, even though it's more fulfilling for life, it's also going to be beneficial for your clients because you're able to show them things or teach them things that maybe they didn't know before.
I love that. Love that.
Thank you.
So what's next for Goldman McCormick? And what are some exciting projects or trends that you're currently exploring within the firm?
Okay. Well, what's next? Say we just celebrated a 15-year anniversary.
Yes.
And
Yes, that's
lost some of
right.
my hair. And for the next 15 years, I think I want to lose the rest of my hair. So,
Oh my goodness. We're not going to put that in the universe. Take that back. We're not putting that out there. You'll
All
still
right.
have all your hair and be
I'm
sharp
only
as a
telling you
whip.
what my little boy says. That's what he says. So as far as we want to continue to work with amazing people. We love what we do, and we just want to continue to work with high quality businesses and companies, and help fulfill their dreams. I don't want to, as far as the future goes, I don't know. I just see the foreseeable future. We want to continue doing this. It's enjoyable. Maybe do more podcasts, maybe do some film production, write some books. I think it'd be definitely be on the horizon. But I mean, every single day I wake up, Randy, I'm sure you probably do this too. You wake up and you be very thankful for the clients that you have, and you do everything you can to serve those clients, do everything you can to bring value to those clients. So I can see that, 15 years from now, I want to be doing the same thing. My father, he's retired. He's almost 80 years old, and he still serves clients. He's in a different industry, but he wakes up, he still does it, and he enjoys it. So it comes within the family, I guess, line is that you serve. You always want to serve. So I want to continue doing that for the foreseeable future.
I love that. A life of service to other people. That's
Enjoyable.
amazing.
It's really enjoyable. It's really enjoyable. I mean,
Yes.
you talk about the negative aspects. There's a lot of great things. There's a lot of
Yeah.
positive elements about it. Where we have a metaphysical belief that you put a lot of good energy out, it comes back, you kind of continue the cycle, and you do whatever you can to help anyone. And this is how we are. That's our philosophy.
Yes. No, I love that. I love that so much. Well, hey,
Thank you.
this has been such a great talk. I definitely look forward to connecting with you further in the future and just staying in touch. And speaking of staying in touch, where can folks get in contact and get connected with you? Like, because we've talked crisis comms this whole conversation. Maybe somebody's listening today and they're just like, okay, I need to hit up Ryan like right now, like yesterday. How can people get in touch with your firm? And how can they get in touch with you?
They can contact our firm by going to goldmanmccormick.com, GoldmanMcCormick.com. If you go to our website, you can contact me directly there. And if you say you are a friend of Brandy, you get a free hug right away.
I love it. I love it. A free hug. That is awesome. Well, hey, thank you again so much, Ryan, for being here. I've really, really enjoyed this. And this is the conversations that I like to have, getting really honest and very real about what happens behind the scenes in PR, but specifically in crisis comms, because it's a different beast, but it's
It's
something that, just hearing from you, it's something that you can conquer, right? If you're conquering the beast, but it takes expertise, it takes practice, it takes time, it takes assessing risk. There's so many really amazing points that you've made, but this is such a good conversation and so needed today. And I just thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you, Brandy. It was a total honor. I have to say, you were asked amazing questions. You really did. You put a lot of thought into it, and did your homework, and I loved your tribe and what you're trying to present. And thank you. Really wonderful to be on with you. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, hey guys, that's everything for today. Definitely tune in next week for the Brandinc PR podcast. And as always, subscribe and like us. See you next week.